This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Want to keep your personal number private but still stay connected? With Line 2, you can get a second phone line right on your device with a super simple app and no need for another phone. Whether it's for online shopping, dating, or shielding your main number from spam, Line 2 is an easy way to manage it all. Ready for peace of mind without breaking the bank? Call, text, block, and more for only $9.99. Get started with line2.com/audio or download Line 2 in any app store today. Line 2, your second line simplified.
And
with you. It's 5:01 on a Tuesday afternoon. You will eventually be in the zone. Double T is a few minutes out. 5:05 arrival, he says. That's similar to Saturday mornings. He's usually right on time. Like just about this point of the music, Double T makes his way in studio. He's a few minutes behind. We will welcome him shortly for an impromptu Tuesday edition of In the Zone on the Bumper to Bumper program. Double T and I have been hosting a weekend morning program on this station since May of 1995. I had a bit more hair, a few less pounds. Trent looks exactly the same, maybe a little grayer. And both of us have become fathers, and much has happened. But it's been our honor and privilege to have a little slice of these airwaves for the last 30-plus years and change. I remember back, we started out a Memorial Day weekend of 1995. Producer Kara wasn't even close to being on this planet back in 1995. Kevin Garnett, nobody knew his name when we started the show, believe it or not. It was 3 weeks before the Kevin Garnett draft that In the Zone began. We started out on Sundays back in the day, and then we moved over to 10 a.m. Saturdays, and then found our home at 8. I don't even know how long ago it's been, but I do remember our first couple weeks, we were looking ahead to the Wolves draft and trying to figure out what they would do. And neither one of us predicted they would go with the high school kid, Kevin Garnett. And his emergence and his arrival on the scene certainly made our show a whole lot more fun and this team a whole lot more relevant and fun to watch. And we got to talk about the KG era as it played out and took us to Wolves After Dark back in the early 2000s through that playoff run before we handed the keys over to Sludge and Lake in, 2005. And now here we are, another era. We had to wait a while, but another era of Wolves basketball where, they're not the toast of the town, but they are a very relevant and very exciting and interesting team, thanks in large part to their marquee player, one Anthony Edwards. Wolves have made a lot of moves this week, bringing back the core of their team. We do know that the end of the bench has moved to Boston. Both Luka Garza and Josh Minot have been signed by the Boston Celtics. Hopefully for those guys, an opportunity to finally get some minutes. It's ironic. You think, well, couldn't find minutes here in Minnesota, so why not go to the team that's 1 year removed from an NBA championship that you would think would have no room for guys like Garza and Minot, but we all know what's happened with the Celtics since Jason Tatum went down. They've sold off a couple of their players. They're retooling. And in Garza's case, Boston has lost Luke Cornett as well as Kristaps Porzingis, two of their bigs. So Garza, a guy who reportedly they've coveted for a while and have kept an eye on, he's going to have a real chance to earn some minutes for a team like the Boston Celtics. And I think all Wolves fans are happy. I think we'll be a little melancholy if Luka develops into a really nice player for a really good team. But there just weren't going to be minutes here for this squad. The way it's constituted, Rudy got paid. Now, of course, they've drafted a young kid they feel has a chance to be the center of the future. So Luka was not going to find his role here. But I just find it very interesting that the Boston Celtics are the team that signs the end of the Wolves bench. Lots of just massive news in the NBA over these last couple of days. Where are the Wolves in the pecking order as we sit today? In my mind, there's 4 teams. There's OKC, Minnesota, Denver, and Houston. Today, that's who I see as the top of the West. Dallas, Golden State, San Antonio, they're all coming, and they all have reason to believe they can compete. But I look at what Denver and Houston have done, and we'll talk to Trent about this in just a minute. They have really filled out their rosters. Obviously, with Houston trading for KD, they made that win now move, and they've filled around him nicely. And Denver has filled their holes as well. Both those teams are going to be better. Will the Wolves be better running it back? Where does the growth come from? Where does the better come from? And that's what's fun about this roster. It's like Ant should be better. Jaden got better as the playoffs went along. I mean, he looks like an entirely different offensive player after the postseason with the confidence he showed in not just settling for threes, but being aggressive and taking it to the basket. McDaniels can get better. Naz and Randall, I think Randall is who he is, but I think he'll be more comfortable in year 2. Again, the fact that trade was made on the eve of training camp, he and Dante were trying to figure out how to fit on the fly. We saw how much better it looked the last 20 games of the season. Give them an offseason. They're comfortable. There's reason to believe that they're both going to fit better in their second year. Randall now knows that he signed for 3 years. Dante, I think, has a better feel for what his role is. I'd say he was a bit of a disappointment in the postseason. I still think he's finding his way with this team. If he looks anything like the guy that played for the Knicks 2 seasons ago, that's going to make the Wolves better. And then you take the young guys that we all kind of like. It's kind of backup quarterback syndrome. You always want to see the guy that isn't playing. And we got some of that because we saw flashes from all 3 of those guys. But there's absolutely reason to believe that all 3 of those guys could be a whole lot better. And there will be an opportunity because a bunch of minutes just opened up, about 25 a game, with Alexander Walker moving on. And the fact that the Wolves were able to make that a sign and trade deal will give them some flexibility with adding a player in the next 12 months that they wouldn't have been able to do. And they get a marginal second-round pick down the road and some cash. But they're able to just not let him go for nothing, get something reasonable. And that's a loss, there's no doubt. He was really, really good in the postseason. But I think there's reason to believe they've got guys ready to fill in those minutes for him. Wild news, if you missed it, they have dipped into free agency. They signed their former player, Nico Sturm, to a 2-year contract worth $4 million. He's 30 now. Just won a ring with the Panthers. And certainly some familiarity with the organization. A nice get for your Minnesota Wild as they dip their way into free agency. It's not a leading the Sports Center kind of news, but a nice veteran that they know well added to the mix. That news broke about an hour or 2 ago. And then the Wimbledon news, Coco Gauff upset in the opening round of Wimbledon today. Just the 3rd player in the modern era to get knocked out in round 1 after winning the French Open. So big news out of Wimbledon. One guy's ripping me for talking basketball all day today. I don't know. It's newsworthy today, isn't it? I mean, free agency just started. I got to think that's why Abbott asked me to sit in this day or two. I mean, what do you want? Soccer? That's not my jam. Talked some Twins earlier. They're back in action. In fact, they'll start in about a half hour. Joe Ryan on the hill. Royce Lewis back. But, basketball is where it's at right now. There are teams remaking themselves. There's big news when a Damian Lillard gets cut after still being owed $113 million for an organization that is trying to do all it can to keep Giannis Antetokounmpo happy. And I think Bucks fans right now are just updating Instagram constantly, waiting to see if he has responded with how things have gone down today for his team. And he hasn't done that. There are conflicting reports on how Giannis feels about what the Bucks have done. We don't really know yet until Giannis goes to social media. So Bucks fans are awaiting that. As I welcome my partner, the professor of hoopology, Double T, Trent Tucker, in the house.
I won't say good morning. I would say good afternoon.
Let's do almost good evening. You could almost go with.
Good evening, yeah.
I think your penalty for being 10 minutes late is you got to stick with me through the end of the show. Now.
I think
I need. Yes,
I can do that.
Probably what 6:23, 6:24. Kara, we'll get out of here.
Like 6:24.
I'm running from one side of town to the next with hockey. And the hockey arranged since 6 o'clock this morning. But I made it.
I appreciate that.
I appreciate that. I'm good to go.
Here's the way I look. I'm getting ripped for talking basketball all day. Russo was in here yesterday, and it was hockey all day long.
Okay.
So give us our day today.
Yeah.
There's enough news happening in the world of basketball, right? It's
true.
There's players moving all over the place. How's your week? Are you excited for the 4th? Do the boys have hockey this weekend, or do they get the weekend off?
They get the weekend off.
Nice, as it should.
Yes, true. Independence Day.
Very good. Let's start with the Wolves, I suppose, right? A lot of news since we were last together on Saturday. Nas and Randall are back. Randall gets signed to a new deal. Nah moves on. Kind of looks like the team's going to basically run it back with a similar roster. Maybe there's something else in play. We're not going to assume Connolly's done, but how do you feel about the decisions the front office has made so far?
Well, I like what they have done. I knew that, Nikhil Alexander-Walker was going to be a long shot for them to keep him. Mm-hmm. You and I talked about that over the last few weeks or so. So not surprising that they had to move on from him. But I don't think they're done. Something tells me that they're going to try to, to make a move here or there to see if they can, find a player of need. And, we have talked about this, over the last probably 6 months, that going into next year, the Wolves need to upgrade at that point guard position.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had Dave Moore on earlier in the show, and he fights against that logic. He believes Anthony Edwards is going to be asked to do a lot of that, and Conley getting 20 minutes and Dillingham maybe getting 15 to 20 minutes. He doesn't feel like it's as big a need as you and I do. I think you and I believe, yes, Ant will have ball handling responsibilities, but a championship contending team as the Wolves are, it feels like they need a little bit more power, oomph, talent, for want of a better word, than a 38-year-old and a 20-year-old. Something in between, even if he's not counted on day one. I'll be surprised, I think as you will, if they go into the season with Conley and Dillingham as their answers at the one.
Well, all you got to do is look at the Phoenix Suns. They had Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal. And I think you and I talked about what could be the one thing that could derail them come playoff time was point guard play. And we saw the Wolves go in there a few years ago and beat them 4-0. It's because when the Wolves decided to add and push pressure down the floor, they didn't have no one that could break the pressure and run that point guard position. And Phoenix, they weren't able to execute what those star players they had is because they had no one to run the show. And you're right. Anthony Edwards will have some ball handling duties for sure. We all know that. But if you're going to try to get to where you want to go, and you look at the two glaring weaknesses right now in this basketball team, we believe that they have addressed one of those weaknesses through the draft, and now they're going to have to find a quality point guard. Whether you think Mike Conley Jr. can give you 20 minutes or not, but at some point in time, he's going to have to take a back seat to somebody younger.
Yeah, when you say through the draft, we don't know that Joan, I thought it was Joan, then I heard him say it was Joan, so we're going to go with that. Mm-hmm. Joan Beranger at 18 to be expected to log backup center minutes this season. I think that's
Well, I said
Unlikely.
maybe they have addressed this through the draft. I mean,
certainly a year or two from now.
Yeah, when they drafted the other night, they went for a position of need, and they're looking for someone down the road who can come in and maybe replace Rudy Gobert as they move forward.
I love the idea that French kid being mentored by the French legend who has 3 years left on his deal. And when he's done in 3 years, this kid will be 21. Maybe he's played 4 years of organized basketball. That's so intriguing to me,
But it's much easier for a big guy, to start late.
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
Have a chance to make it, to the highest level. Dennis Rodman was one of the few guys who started late as well. I mean, this past weekend, you talked about, a point guard that could be in play, De'Aaron Fox from San Antonio. I mean, he could be somebody that, that San Antonio might be looking to move on because they draft a point guard in the draft.
Dylan Harper with the second pick.
So it looks like that they may have their guy for the future. And I just believe that Tim Connelly is still looking around.
Yeah, I mean, Fox would be I think a long shot. I do know the Spurs want to sign him to a long-term deal and keep him around with Harper and with Castle. They've got a couple young guards that could be their future. If there's any way to pry him away from the Spurs.
Well, you got to have a conversation. You knock on the door, you make a phone call, you go on the plane, go down there. I don't think R.J. Buford is still running the San Antonio Spurs, but if he is, make a phone call to him.
well, so let's talk about Julius Randle for a second because he signs the new deal, 3 years, $100 million. We all know what a difference he made when he came back from injury and how much better the Wolves played when he came back. And suddenly he feels like he's got his role figured out. And he was fantastic in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, left sort of a bad taste in our mouth against the Thunder. But as you look at where this team is in a couple years, is Naz still coming off the bench or is Naz your starting four? And have they maybe decided that a year from now or sooner, maybe Randle is a guy you can dangle for a potential point guard?
Well, I mean, you have $225 million
in your power forward
in
spot?
one position, yeah. And so I believe by them signing Naz Reid to a 5-year deal, not to say they're going to trade Julius Randle, but I think they might be looking to see if they can, as I mentioned, to upgrade at that point guard position. Is because when you give a guy a 5-year deal and he's still young, I believe you are telling him that this is your job. This is your time now to assume those responsibilities as a starter at this position. And if you are able to land one of those, a top flight point guard, you're going to have to give up something. And it doesn't mean by if you make a trade that the guy can't play. It's that, okay, how can we better our team and do we have assets that we can move to make us better going forward?
Yeah, and look, we all look at it's July 1st and we want to say this is our team, but we all know that there's a lot of time between now and October. And,
sure.
And even February with the trade deadline. I mean, there's a lot of time and we can't get so locked in. But the idea of this team being about what we had last year, next year, what should give, if nothing major is done between now and training camp, if this is the team and they have one spot to fill and maybe it's a big and maybe it's a guard, whatever it might be, we know who the rotation players are. Let's say no trades are made.
Okay.
How optimistic should Wolves fans be that these guys can all, not all, but a number of them can take major steps, whether it's the 3 young guys that are going to get minutes now that Na is gone, whether it's Ant another year older, McDaniels, what should give Wolves fans the most optimism? Because as we'll talk about as we go here, Nuggets, the Rockets, some other teams have started to load up and things are getting a little tricky here in the West.
Well, I think if the team stays as it is, and over the last 2 years we have seen where the shortcomings have come from, and Anthony Edwards has not been able to explode and do the things that he did in the first 2 series in the Western Conference Finals over the last 2 years. And just because teams are able to double team and take him out of the offense, make it hard for him. I think if the team stays as it is, I think the coaching staff are going to have to somehow, some way revamp some of the offense and relocate him in certain spots on the floor where they can make the game a whole lot easier for him. And, running the pick and roll against certain teams, consistent with Rudy Gobert setting the pick at 28 feet, we saw against Oklahoma City, they just trapped the pick and roll. But when Anthony Edwards is allowed to go north and south, well, then he's able to put more pressure on the defense and find some easier looks, not only for himself, but for his teammates as well. And you and I have talked about this over the last few years. I knew two guys who, and many basketball fans know them as well. Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant had a tough time, trying to get to the NBA championship. They were good enough to get to the NBA Eastern Conference and Western Conference finals. But they had a coach all of a sudden now said, okay, I got to take this talent and revamp how we do things offensively so we can put these two players now in a better position where they can operate, especially when the game is on the line. Last time I checked, when that guy made those changes, he had 11 championship rings.
Yeah. And he's hanging out in Montana. He's available.
So,
Phil wants to bend, or if Finchie wants to bend his ear a little bit.
Because, Anthony Edwards, to me, when you talk about pure talent, pure physical talent, at his position, he's the best in the game. Pure talent. And now, how can you help this pure talent get over the hump? We've gone to the Western Conference Finals 2 years in a row. Now we need one more piece to add to the puzzle to see if we can get this team past the Western Conference Finals and have a chance to play for an NBA championship.
Lots of NBA news to get your takes on over the last couple of days. A lot of guys getting paid, a bunch of guys getting moved. My hometown had a crazy day today, the Milwaukee Bucks. I want to get your thoughts on whether LeBron starts the season in L.A. or ends the season in L.A. NBA conversation continues, like it or not. Sinykin in for Barrero.
Some matches are temporary, but your privacy shouldn't be. With Line 2, you get a second phone line just for dating. No need to share your personal number until you're ready. You can chat, text, and even block numbers, all while keeping things fun and private. It's perfect for online dating, blind dates, or just keeping things light. When you're ready to move on, Line 2 lets you cut ties without any drama. Dating should be fun and carefree. Line 2 keeps it that way. Ready to date on your terms? Visit line2.com/audio or download Line 2 in the App Store today.
On the Fan. We're back, 5:27. It's the Bumper to Bumper program. Dan out this week for the holiday. Dave Sinykin in today. I'll be back tomorrow. Double T, Trent Tucker in the house from now until we finish. It's sort of a Tuesday rendition of In the Zone. Can I ask you a tennis question quickly?
Yes, you can.
Who's your favorite tennis player currently playing right now?
Currently playing right now. My favorite, Carlos Alcaraz.
Who's your favorite women's player playing right now?
Coco Gauff.
Did you hear she lost today?
I know.
Okay, that's where I was going.
Yeah.
I wanted you to lead me into that.
Well, when she left the French Open, she took some time off. I don't think she got herself well prepared for the grass court season.
Oh.
She struggled in the tune-up matchup before she got to Wimbledon. I think she lost in the first round as well. So now she can take a trip home to Florida and turn her attention now to the hard court season and get ready for the U.S. Open.
Yeah, because playing at Wimbledon, it's a whole different kind of game from like the clay at Roland Garros. Mm-hmm. It's a whole different ball game. 16 double faults today for her.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think she was physically or mentally prepared after winning the French Open to take on what Wimbledon had standing in front of her. And so I'm not surprised that she got beat today.
Really?
I think a lot of people are. But, she will go home and refocus and put herself back together and get herself ready to make a run at the U.S. Open in August.
Right. Fair enough. Mm-hmm. The Lynx have a rather large game tonight.
I heard.
Going for the Commissioner's Cup at Target Center. No Caitlin Clark.
I heard you earlier.
Should make things a bit easier. Not that Caitlin Clark's going to stop the Lynx. But
the Pacers came in here this year without their starting lineup.
That's true.
And they beat the Wolves, right?
That's a very good point. Don't take Indiana teams for granted just because they're missing some players, right? That should be fun tonight. That place should be electric. And we talked about with Marnie just an hour ago, the financial impact on these players if they win this game tonight. It's more than winning the NBA title kind of money. It's
really?
WNBA title. Yes, it's $500,000 split among the players. And I think the coaches, I assume, but still like 30, 40 grand a piece.
That's a nice little payday.
For women making some of them 70, 80 grand for the season. So
nice little payday.
So a definite incentive tonight. We'll have the game on the fan tipping off shortly after 7 o'clock. All right, lots to get to on the NBA front with all these moves. I want to start with LeBron James, who opted in $52 million and change, player option.
Okay.
Some might have said, well, why not just take $30 million? You've got more money than you'll ever need, and allow this team to add other players. But he didn't. He took the full player option, took his $52 million. Here's my question. What are the chances he starts the season with the Lakers, and what are the chances that he finishes the season with the Lakers?
I don't think the Lakers would have the nerve to trade LeBron James.
No? What if he says,
now,
I could win in Cleveland. If you could make a deal with the Cavs, I'll go home and try to win one more. That's one team that...
And if I'm the Cleveland Cavaliers, I would run away from that offer as quickly as I could.
Not interested?
No.
What if it doesn't cost you, any of your key guys like Mobley, Mitchell, and Jared Allen? Maybe it costs you Darius Garland. You don't think that puts them over the East is so winnable right now.
He demands too much attention on himself. And I think he somehow, some way could divide up the chemistry on that team. I just don't think the Lakers have the nerve. I could be totally wrong now, but if LeBron James went to them and said, hey, can you move me, that might be a different conversation.
I think it has to be that way.
Okay.
I don't think they're just going to say, we just traded you to Toronto, LeBron, have fun.
I don't think they have the nerve to do that.
All right, well, you could be right. But if LeBron were to say, here's 3 teams, do you think there's a chance that happens? Do you think...
It all depends on, let's say...
He's playing to win a ring. He's not winning a ring with the Lakers.
Well, and he goes to Cleveland, there's no guarantee either because the Lakers are going to ask for a whole lot in return. We all know that. So where else could he go? If there was 2 other teams beside Cleveland that he may want to go to, that the Lakers would say, okay, we'll take all of your best players for LeBron James.
It would have to be the East, right? Because the East is completely up for grabs right now. The West is loaded. And there's no matter which, if one of the West contenders brought him in, they'd still have a big road to climb to win it with LeBron. But the East, Atlanta, Orlando have risen up and made a play to get competitive. Those 2 teams could try to make a giant move, but I just feel like Cleveland, like I say.
He would love. He probably would love to go to Cleveland.
You put Mitchell, Mobley, and Allen and LeBron.
End his career.
Yeah.
But I just think that bringing LeBron James right now into that locker room would be a major distraction. And I just don't think Kenny Atkinson is prepared to handle LeBron James.
Okay. I'll keep an eye on it. I have a feeling there's going to be some steam there.
Okay.
Your guy, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who you did not believe is the most talented 2-guard in the NBA, because you believe that man resides here in the Twin Cities. Mm-hmm. He got paid today. 4 years, $285 million, the richest contract ever in the NBA.
How much is that? How much is that a year? I can't count that high.
70 and change. 70.
So he's going to make almost like $1 million.
72, about 72. Almost
close to $1 million a game.
Almost $1 million a game.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Well,
his timing was right. Win the MVP, win the title, win the Finals MVP.
Yeah,
and now you're up for a new deal.
He put himself in a great situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he hit the trifecta.
That team's, loaded, but they're all going to have to get paid soon. Jalen Williams, Chet, they have enough draft assets probably to negotiate all that, but it's going to be interesting now as those guys all get paid.
They may go to the Lakers and say, take a lot of draft picks and we'll take LeBron.
Yeah, I don't see that. Right? I don't see that. The 2 teams that have impressed me the most, I think, since the season ended with what they have done, Atlanta would be number 3. But I think what Houston and Denver have done, I think have really catapulted them up into the same
I like Cam Johnson
echelon as the Wolves.
I think he's a much better basketball player than Michael Porter Jr.
That's a really good fit for Denver, isn't it?
Oh, it's a great fit.
And all they give up is Michael Porter and an unprotected first-round pick, which, yeah, I mean, that's substantial.
Cam Johnson is a much better basketball player than Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah.
Even though Michael Porter Jr. helped him win a championship, but, you know, he this past season, he just became a one-dimensional player. And if he wasn't making three-point shots, it seems like that he was not willing to give you any other things on the other end of the floor. And I think getting Cam Johnson and Phoenix know how important he was during their championship-type run. But him going to Denver now, I mean, that's a solid trade for them.
And they made a sneaky trade today that also will benefit them because, as you know, the biggest problem they had is no backup for Nikola Jokic. Mm-hmm. You know, he goes out and suddenly, go ahead, go to the basket. There's no one that's going to stop you. Not that he can stop you, but they had nobody else. And they brought in Jonas Valanciunas, the veteran 7-footer, who now gives them a guy that they can put out there when Jokic is off the court.
And they play them together.
Maybe they will a little bit, but don't you think that's a nice move too, filling up a hole that roster had?
And he can protect the basket a little bit.
Yep.
He can block some shots here or there. We know that Jokic is not interested in blocking shots, and he can't block shots. But all of a sudden now you're bringing a guy that can protect the basket just a little bit more for the Denver Nuggets. They become a tougher team now to deal with.
Yeah, I think Houston and Denver. Houston, the Capella deal is interesting because they already have Sengun and Steven Adams. But they moved Sengun to the power forward spot in the playoffs. That's probably going to be his future home now. You have Capella and Adams, right? Then they had Dorian Finney-Smith. They signed Jabari Smith to a big-time deal.
Yeah. And Clint Capella's going back to Houston?
And Capella's back in Houston.
Well, now they have a shot blocker. So now it's a different basketball team. And I think everyone is beginning to realize, especially over the last few years or so, is that we need a rim protector. We can have all the perimeter guys who can score and go up and down the floor all we want. But when it comes to playoff basketball, when the game slows down and becomes more of a half-court type situation, we need someone who can protect the rim. And, the Wolves exposed the Phoenix Suns a few years ago and the Denver Nuggets because they didn't have a rim protector. And now more teams are saying that we need someone who is athletic enough, not only just to rebound and play defense, but also they can change or block shots.
Rudy exposed the Lakers this year when they didn't have a rim protector, and the Lakers are still looking for a center, and the pickings are getting slim. All right, speaking of centers, Milwaukee lost one and gained one, and then the big explosion as Damian Lillard was waived by the Bucks today. I want to get your thoughts on what my hometown team did today as they tried their desperate best to keep Giannis around and happy. We'll talk about that when we come back on an In the Zone Tuesday.
Tired of losing weight only to gain it all back? The weight loss experts at SlimRank.com have done the research. SlimRank.com ranks the safest, most effective GLP-1 programs that get and keep the weight off for good. Stop watching the scale go up and down. Go to SlimRank.com and pick America's #1 weight loss program today. SlimRank.com. That's SlimRank.com. Your dream body is just a few months away. SlimRank.com.
On the Fan. We're back, 5:43. It's a Tuesday edition of In the Zone as Double T joined me, the top of the hour. He'll stick with me until we are done around 6:30 or so. We're talking all things NBA. Well, the Twins just started. We'll keep an eye on that. Twins and Marlins down in Miami. Joe Ryan on the hill.
Are the Twins are 4 games under 500 now?
They are, I think, 40 and 44, yes. The ugly June is over. Here's a new July, a new month. Marlins are red hot, though. They've won 7 straight.
Yeah,
so.
but we got some teams that are coming up now that we should have a chance to get healthy against.
Yes, the schedule does ease up just a bit. So, as you know, of course, I was a Bucks fan growing up. Still have an affinity for that squad. And as we know, as this NBA offseason dawned and beckoned, one of the key storylines is going to be what did the Bucks do with Giannis, who, with Dame Lillard's Achilles injury, realized this team, as constituted, was unlikely to be a contender in the East. Would Giannis demand a trade? Would he ask for a trade? Would he say, do what you can to make this team better, whatever you can do? Well, here we are in July. He hasn't asked for a trade or demanded a trade, and he seems to be a loyal player, a guy loyal to that organization that would like to stay there if he does believe there's a path to contention. And as we've talked about ad nauseum, all the contenders in the East, except for maybe Cleveland, have lost key players. Boston, Milwaukee, Indiana. Those teams are all missing what were their best or second best players at the time. So this morning, huge earth-shaking news as far as the NBA goes. Miles Turner, 9 days ago, competing for an NBA title, has left the Pacers to join the Milwaukee Bucks for Nas money. Like whatever it is, 5 for 122. Shocker. Indiana's a team that would have had to dip into the luxury tax to keep everybody. They haven't gone to the luxury tax in 20 years. So if you want to...
There's no need for them to go there.
Well, maybe not, but they don't have ownership that's willing to either, and that plays into it. And they wouldn't go as high as Turner wanted to go, and he stuns the Pacers by joining the Bucks. And when I see that news, like many Bucks fans who follow the team, I'm thinking, how can they afford Miles Turner? They have no money. All they could do this offseason was around the edges, try to find veteran minimum guys like they did last year with Gary Trent, Taurean Prince, those kind of guys. Suddenly they have money for Miles Turner? Didn't make a lot of sense. Minutes later, we see the Bucks have waived Damian Lillard to give them the money to afford Miles Turner. There's your bombshell. Damian Lillard is owed $113 million bucks over the next 2 years. And the Bucks have made the almost unheard of decision to stretch that money over the next 5 seasons.
Yeah.
They're going to have $23 million a year in dead cap money.
They owe it to him.
That they owe to him. So Dame now is a free agent. We know he's badly injured and unlikely to play next season. So he has options. He's going to get paid by Milwaukee no matter what. If a team, let's just say the Lakers, say,
mid-level,
we'll sign you for $2 million bucks, veteran minimum.
Okay.
And you're not going to play this year, but maybe we can get LeBron to play for 2 more years.
We get something out of you next year.
Yeah, and suddenly we'll have Luka, Dame, and LeBron for one big season of fun. Who knows? I want to get your thoughts first on, well, let me back up. Conflicting reports on how Giannis feels about this, because that weighs into this, right? One report I read said that Giannis was on board with the general manager, John Horst, on bringing Turner in. He was thrilled about working alongside Miles Turner, replacing Brook Lopez, who left for the Clippers, and giving the Bucks a younger Brook Lopez, who plays a lot like Brook Lopez, right? He shoots the 3, he blocks shots.
He plays a lot like the latter part of his career, Brook Lopez.
Yes, the Brook Lopez the Bucks have had the last 7 seasons.
Yeah.
Then I saw a report that he was not at all happy that Damian Lillard was waived. And then you think, well, how?
He can't play this year.
But not only that, how did you think you could afford Miles Turner and Damian Lillard?
Players are not thinking about that.
But don't you think the GM would have said, look, we're going to bring in Miles Turner, but it's going to cost us Dame? He's not going to leave that out.
Really? I don't think so.
He's going to leave that out. Hey, we're going to bring in Miles Turner. Aren't you excited? Yay, us.
Right, I don't think.
And then, oh, by the way, you'll find this out later.
He probably could have, but, what if? I don't know. But Dame couldn't play this year, and maybe he can't play no more at the level that.
He's 35. He'll be obviously
at the level that the Bucks would have needed him to play to contend for a championship. Okay, so they took $100+ some million and stretched it out over 5 years. That's a good move for the Milwaukee Bucks to do that.
You think so?
Because now they bring in someone who they believe can help them win.
It gives them a chance to compete this season.
And I don't think Indiana, based on what Miles Turner did for them, during the championship run.
He had a bad finals.
And he doesn't give them a low post game. At some point in time, your big guys have to learn how to play with their backs to the basket. Because they're easy to defend when they stand at 28 feet and set the pick and roll and look to shoot a 3-point shot, especially when the team goes small. Why is Alex Caruso allowed to guard Miles Turner? It's because he's at 28 feet. Put him on the block, and there's no way that Alex Caruso can guard him.
Right, and Caruso did that with Jokic, who was playing 28 feet from the hoop and looked like a hero, right?
Right,
yeah.
Because it's, it can't be that hard to recognize that I have a guy like Nikola Jokic, who many people say is the best player in the entire NBA, and he's catching the ball at 28 feet and trying to be a guard off the dribble. That is not smart basketball.
No. So let me give you a quick review of what the Bucks have done in the last 24 hours, and tell me if you think this team can compete in an Eastern Conference that's fairly wide open. They obviously trade for Turner and move on from Dame. They bring back Bobby Portis, Gary Trent Jr., Kevin Porter Jr. That'll be their backcourt. Gary Trent Jr., Kevin Porter Jr. Taurean Prince. They bring in Gary Harris, and they got rid of Pat Connaughton. So basically running back last year's team, replacing Lopez with Turner, and obviously you don't have Lillard, but Trent and Porter were really nice finds for the Bucks.
Yeah, that's true.
They do have, I think, another $7 million, or they've some money they can spend now that they've done what they've done. But where are they in the pecking order to you right now as things sit in the East?
5, 6.
Yeah,
maybe.
That feels about right.
Yeah, maybe 7. Might be just on the outside of the play-in. But I don't see them contending in the Eastern Conference right now.
Yeah, I don't either. No, I don't. They need a point guard. I mean, everybody needs a point guard. We need one too.
We need one too.
Kevin Porter Jr. is a nice young player, but he's not a point guard really. So the question is, how does Giannis feel? And that's now for Bucks fans. They're waiting to hear from him on how he feels about how this whole thing went down. And how many years does he have left on his contract, if you know? I think he has 3, and I think the third is a player option.
Okay.
I'll double check. But he's definitely under Bucks control for at least 2 more seasons. But, if he wakes up tomorrow morning and goes, nope, I'm out, find me something, this isn't going to work, it wouldn't shock me at this point. Because you're right. I mean,
where could he go? And get something in return. Houston has already made their move.
Yep.
Okay. There isn't much in Phoenix.
Spurs.
Yeah.
If the Spurs think Giannis fits with Wemby, how do you feel that fit would work?
I think Giannis, I don't know if Giannis can fit with another ball-dominant player. That would be my concern. Wemby is going to be the guy that's going to carry the heavy load in terms of dominating the basketball and making the offense work. I just don't know if Giannis can play off the ball. And it's because he is that guy for the Milwaukee Bucks. He likes to, to set up the offense. He wants to beat you one-on-one. He wants to make the plays off the dribble. And can Giannis be someone that can be effective not having the ball in his hands? I just don't think he can play that way. So him going to San Antonio, it's for sure, it would spark a big deal of interest, but I just don't know how you would make that work.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think he stays. I think the way this thing is played out, he's going to give him another year.
Well, if he leaves, what's going to happen to his brother?
I think his brother's toast at this point. I don't even think he's played in the last 2 seasons. I have one more Western Conference question for you, and that's the Dallas Mavericks. Some say they are contenders in the West, even without Kyrie being able to play until the All-Star break. Well, that's my point. They found a point guard to handle things till Kyrie comes back, whenever that is, February, March, April.
I think he's a quality guy that can do that.
Yeah, I think so too. If he knows his role and understands it. Obviously they get Cooper Flagg. Kyrie signs to a team-friendly $40 million a year deal, 3 years. They bring Gafford back.
We got Lively too?
Yep, they have Lively. And as I said, obviously Flagg is the X factor, whether he's ready to
But Anthony Davis is the key.
Step right in.
He's the key.
Yeah.
Cooper Flagg he's not ready yet, I believe, to give the team to him. Anthony Davis is the key component there. If he stays healthy and if he can play 71, maybe 72 games this year for the Dallas Mavericks.
That's a lot to ask.
That's a lot to ask. But if he can play, okay, let's go 65.
There you go.
Now Cooper Flagg has a chance, to really grow as a basketball player without the pressure of carrying the franchise on his shoulders. Mm-hmm. So Anthony Davis, to me, I think is the key component for the Dallas Mavericks.
Where do you put them right now in the West in your pecking order?
Well, they sit now. On paper,
without Kyrie playing,
I think the West is so loaded.
Yeah.
I think they could be they can make the playoffs and escape the play-in type situation, I believe.
So possibly top 6.
Yeah.
And especially if they can just tread water until Kyrie's back. You know,
D'Angelo Russell is still a good basketball player. You know, he may not fit everywhere he has been, you know, but he's a guy that can give you quality point guard play, and he's getting toward the end of his career. I think he's excited to have this opportunity to go to Dallas and play. So he's going to be on his best behavior.
That'll be interesting. That's a good spot for him, I think, to kind of prove that he can still be a key part of a team that believes it has a chance to go somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they have some very young, live, active bodies, and we all know that they can protect the basket. They can be very good defensively. You know, Jason Kidd has been with this team now for a few years. He knows how to put these guys in the right position to execute. And now he has an offensive player who is very good if he can stay healthy in Anthony Davis.
We'll pause here, top of the hour break. Couple more segments to go with Double T on a Tuesday in the Zone episode on the Bumper to Bumper program. Some more NBA moves I want to get to. And with the fever in town, Caitlin Clark won't be in uniform, but she's making some news today. I want to get your thoughts on the latest Caitlin Clark brouhaha. We'll do that final half hour in the Zone on the Fan.
Tired of losing weight only to gain it all back? The weight loss experts at SlimRank.com have done the research. SlimRank.com ranks the safest, most effective GLP-1 programs that get and keep the weight off for good. Stop watching the scale go up and down. Go to SlimRank.com and pick America's #1 weight loss program today. SlimRank.com. That's SlimRank.com. Your dream body is just a few months away. SlimRank.com.
We're back 6 o'clock on a Tuesday. It's Dave Sinykin, Trent Tucker hanging out for the next couple segments. Twins in action in Miami. They're in the bottom half of the second. No score. Royce Lewis has not yet batted, but he is back in the lineup today, Double T, after missing 3 weeks with the hamstring injury.
You know, it's just unfortunate that here's one guy that has a ton of talent. And when he's playing, you know, he's great for the Twins, but he just can't stay healthy. And it's just amazing. There are some guys who can get to the highest level, but their bodies will just let them down time and time again. And he's one of those players. He's one of those players who just can't stay healthy.
Yeah, it's a shame. And I'm glad he's back before the All-Star break. I think they wouldn't roll him out there, you know.
The question is, you know, how long will it be around before the All-Star break happens?
As I said earlier, every time he runs out of ball now, you hold your breath.
Yeah.
He used to do that with Buxton, right? Like he'd go back for a fly ball and you just hold your breath. He's not going to crash into something or dive at something.
Or just pull something.
Yeah, just live to play another game, please. We want that desperately. We'll update you if anything happens on the Twins front. You saw your Wild news, free agency news for your favorite hockey team? Because I know you professed a month or two ago on In the Zone that you might like hockey better than basketball. And I still haven't recovered. You said it might be your favorite game.
To watch.
Yes.
Yeah. Playoff hockey is fantastic. I mean, you know.
I just don't know you anymore.
That's true.
Nico Sturm is back with your Minnesota Wild. 2 years, $4 million.
Okay.
Played with San Jose and Florida this past season. He's 30. And again, not a earth-shaking move, but I would think Wild fans are happy to have him back. He still has something to give. So that's your Wild news update of the day. First day of free agency.
Well, it's hockey every day for me now.
It is. You've got two boys playing at a high level that are playing all over town all the time. And you are...
It's a great game. I mean, and it's one of the ultimate team games because you rely on teammates so much. And just to the camaraderie and the connections when you are lucky enough to play in different parts of the state and around the country, and you build friendships, that can be forever lasting. And for my kids to have, this exposure, to hockey just outside the state of Minnesota has been great for them. But, we are the state of hockey, and it's high-level hockey all the time for my kids, and I'm just fortunate enough to be a part of it.
I get asked a lot when your name comes up, like, how does Trent feel about having two, athletically gifted kids who are not playing basketball, who didn't follow his lead and found hockey instead? And I always say you couldn't be more thrilled, but I also remember that one day years ago when you joined my son Jackson's basketball practice to help the kids shoot free throws, and you just the pleasure you had of hearing those sneakers squeaking and being in a gym, which you haven't done, brought you back a little bit too. I
still do basketball workouts. Basketball is still, dear to my heart, that. But, there's something different about hockey. It's just a different game. It's a different feel. And to see what some of these great athletes can do, on those skates, and how they can ride those edges, and they can walk that blue line, and they can make that pinpoint pass, and how the goalies are able to stop some of the shots that they stop against some of these great players. And like I said, I'm very fortunate to have two kids who love the game and are able to play the game at a pretty high level. And for me to be a part of it, I couldn't be more excited.
And you were not a dad who put wristbands on your boys at the age of 2 and put a basketball in their hands and said, this is how you dribble. This is going to be your game. Learn it. Love it. That's the way it's going to be.
And I get the question all the time, there's a lot of parents who have a lot of, young athletes playing different sports. And the word burnout always come up. Are you doing too much? Are we not doing enough? Are your kids skating, or are your kids playing too much baseball or basketball? Are they training too much with football? And for me, how I answer that question is this. Burnout comes when you have to force your kids to do something. When they wake you up at 5:30 in the morning and want to go to the rink, burnout is not a part of the equation. That means that they don't see it as going to work. They don't see it as a struggle. They don't see this as hardcore. They see it as something they love to do. And so for me, I see burnout as being if I had to drag my kids out and make them go to hockey when they didn't want to go, well, then it's time for them to do something different. But I enjoy the fact that they enjoy going to the rink. They're rink rats. They would be there all day if they could. I have to drag them out of the rink and say, hey, man, it's time to go home now. and with all of...
Were you like that?
As a basketball player, yeah.
When you were 11, 13, 14, were you the same way?
Same way.
Yeah.
But, we didn't have all of the organized stuff now that kids can participate in. They are so far advanced with, trainers and teachers of the game and workout facilities and high-level coaching. And, I look at how, I see a lot of young hockey players, you see them skate, say, wow, at 9 and 10, they got great edge work, they got great technique. They can do these things here or there. But for me, I learned the game on the playgrounds. But I think for a lot of hockey players now, when they can go to outdoor rinks and improvise and pick up some things here or there, that's going to help their games as well. Yeah, 100%. And you said the magic words. It's like, my kids all love the sports they played in. They didn't play anywhere near the level your kids do, but I never had to drag any of them to practice. Right. They all loved the sports they played in, and that's all you want is like, I don't want to have to tell you you have to go to practice, and I never did. And I tell my kids that I say, the only thing that's guaranteed for you right now, with all the work you put in, there's no guarantee that you're going to make it to the highest level that hockey has to offer. I say, but where you are at this stage, the only thing that is guaranteed you right now is that you have a chance. And that's all you can ask for. Mm-hmm. If you're willing to put the work in and be consistent with your purpose every single day, you give yourself a chance. And that's all you can ask for.
Now they got a weekend off with the holiday. What are they going to do with themselves?
Go to the cabin, do a little fishing, get on the boat, hang out with their grandparents, take a little time off before, they get back into the grind again next week.
Love that. Will you be fishing with them?
No. My kids now like to go hang out with their grandparents by themselves.
That's awesome.
And that's a good thing for me.
Sure it is. Sure it is. So no fireworks for you. You'll be have some quiet time.
We're watching the Twins. See if they can get things moving in the right direction.
All right, very good. Yeah, I don't even know what my kids are all in college age and they've got their own plans on the 4th. They don't want to hang with mom and dad. So I'm not even sure what we're going to do for the 4th.
It's kind of a fun time. You and your wife can just kick back and have a good time with the two of you.
Yeah, we'll go find fireworks somewhere.
Yeah.
I got to watch some fireworks on July 4th. We'll pause the final time. We'll put a wrap on the program when we come back, previewing tonight's Lynx game about an hour from now at Target Center with the Commissioner's Cup on the line. We'll do that when we come back. Final segment.
Ugh, spam calls. Sound familiar? Introducing Line 2. Get a second phone number right on your existing phone. Imagine discounts, appointments, online forms. Handle it all without giving out your personal number. It's like having a secret weapon against spam. And when those unwanted calls sneak through, boom, blocked. No more interruptions, no more stress. Stay connected, stay protected. Keep your main number safe and out of harm's way. Ready to take back your phone? Visit line2.com/audio or download Line 2 in the App Store today.
After these.
Fan.
We are back, 6:12 on a Tuesday afternoon, final segment of today's edition of Bumper to Bumper with Barrero. Double T in-house with me, a little in-the-zone action. Appreciate that, Double T. Good news, bad news for your Twins. Tigers score in the bottom of the second to take a 1-0 lead. That's the bad news.
Okay.
Good news is, with one out in the top of the third, Royce Lewis stepped up, first at bat, and rifled one down the third base line for a stand-up double.
That's good news.
He didn't look like he had his usual speed, I will say that.
Okay.
Maybe he was looking at where the ball was and realized he had an easy double.
He was afraid to push it.
That's probably it. And he also realized, I got a double.
I can cruise in the second
no
base.
matter how fast I run. But a nice sign, right? The first at bat.
That's a great sign.
He rifles one down the left field line. My thanks today to Dane Moore, who joined in the 3 o'clock hour, to Marnie Gellner, who joined in the 4 o'clock hour, and of course, Double T. Now, all that will be podcastable if you missed it and you want to listen shortly after this show is over. I'm back tomorrow. I've got Johnny Krasinski lined up. I've got Lavelle, and ran into Musk before the show. We started smack talking NFC North, so I figured we should do a little of that on the air. He's going to join me in the 4 o'clock hour tomorrow. Lynx basketball tonight on this very radio station. You cannot watch the game unless you're an Amazon Prime subscriber.
Well, I'm out.
You don't have that.
No.
You will not be watching. I do have it.
So I don't watch enough TV to put all those things into play.
That's good for you. Yeah. I wish I could say that. I've got virtually everything because I have to have Peacock for Big Ten basketball, and now Netflix has the NFL, and what else is there?
I just call you
Amazon.
And get an update.
Tonight's game, you can listen on the Fan. We are your home for Lynx basketball.
That, yeah.
So if you don't,
Caitlin Clark tonight, though, huh?
Can't watch it. Yeah, you can listen. Correct. Caitlin Clark in street clothes. She'll miss her third straight game with the groin injury. She will be an all-star. The Fan has learned. She and Nafisa Collier, of course, with the Lynx, are the two captains.
How good is she
in the all-star game? She's fantastic. She is
she's really good.
She's the MVP through 16 games. There's no question. The Lynx at 14-2, barely broken a sweat. They are favored heavily tonight, with or without Caitlin Clark, and they've got 3 more home games this week.
Well, we have to be careful now because every time Indiana comes to town undemanded, it seems somehow, some way to get a victory.
Well, it happened once.
Whether it's WNBA or NBA.
That happened once. Let's not call it a trend just yet. If things go
doesn't become a trend
backwards tonight, we can go there. I've talked about this a bunch today. I just want to get your thoughts on it. The weird reaction players have to Caitlin Clark, whose new Nike shoes sold out in like 1 minute yesterday. She got more votes for the All-Star game this year than the entire starters got 2 seasons ago. More votes.
She's very popular.
Very popular.
And she's very good.
With the players. She is a very good player. She's not just a logo shooting three.
She's a basketball player.
She's a very good basketball player. The fans voted her as the number 1 guard. The media voted her as the 3rd best guard. Her fellow players voted her the 9th best guard in the Eastern Conference.
I mean, why these players on the NBA side and the WNBA side, they have something against the players from Indiana who are very good.
Yeah, because Tyrese was voted by his peers as the most overrated player earlier this season. With Rudy,
he only got his team to the NBA Finals.
Rudy a distant second.
Yeah.
Yeah, he quelled that pretty quickly with his performance. And what happened in Game 7
we all know that Caitlin Clark is not the 9th best guard.
No, but what is this all about? The jealousy. We talked Saturday. There's some racial. That's part of it.
Everything's
the attention she gets.
Everything's a part of it. But you know what? If I had to, talk to the WNBA players, it's time to move on. It's time to get over it. She's in the league. It is what it is. The league is bigger. The league is better. You guys are going to benefit by her being in the league.
They're already benefiting.
And I say, and the only way, that you overcome this is you just beat her on the basketball court. If you want to prove to people that you are better than Caitlin Clark, and she is not that good, you don't need to do all this stuff that is not cool. Just be there playing basketball. And if you can do that, you will quiet all the noise about who's the best.
Some of the shenanigans we see on the court.
Cut that stuff.
It's embarrassing, really.
Because it's great that Magic Johnson and Larry Bird came into the league to revamp the image of the NBA. It's great, that Isaiah Thomas was able to put the Detroit Pistons back in a situation where they could win. It's great that Michael Jordan came along and became the greatest basketball player ever. If we accept that, because we are a family, we are family members. When you're lucky enough to be a part of this league, you become part of a family. And I know sometimes family members can have some differences of agreement.
Some squabbles.
Yeah, it happens. But if you want to prove to the rest of the world that you are better than Caitlin Clark, just go out and beat her on the basketball court. You don't need to try to hurt her. You don't need to try to do all these things. Don't put yourself in that situation, because it's not a good look for you, and it's not a good look for the WNBA.
And there's such an opportunity right now with the popularity burgeoning.
What are you talking about?
Expanding. They're going to have
three more teams coming in the next
50% growth over 5 years ago.
I'm happy.
By the end of the decade.
If I'm playing in the WNBA, I'm happy that Caitlin Clark is here. We're riding on private planes for the first time. We've upgraded our hotel stay. So all of the
playing in NBA arenas for a lot of teams.
And we might be able to make more money down the road. So the only way that I can quiet Caitlin Clark up is by beating her on the basketball court. Mm-hmm. And for a competitor, that's what you want to do. It's time to get over all of these shenanigans. Just get over it, because it's not a good look for you, and it's not a good look for the WNBA.
And clearly, there are other great stars in this league.
Not a great player. We just talked about one he plays with the Lynx.
Yeah.
Fisa Kaya. I think she might be the best player in the league, along with Breanna Stewart.
And Asia Wilson.
Who?
Asia from Las Vegas.
Yeah. But you're talking about two teams that I believe, once again, will fight for the rights to be champions of the WNBA. The Mini Apple against the Big Apple. The Lynx against the Liberty.
Let's hope it's not some shenanigans this time.
No, the officials make the right calls.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
But, Caitlin Clark, right now, she may not be the best player in the league, and I don't think she's the best player in the league.
I agree, but she's on that track.
But she has been great for the game. Let it be what it is. Mm-hmm. Enjoy the moment. We have something now that is special, that is going to expand our game. We might get more investors to come into our game. All of a sudden now, we'll be playing 32 games throughout the summer. That may expand to 50. So this season could be expanded. All of a sudden now, we are playing into the latter part of the fall. Now we have a chance to make more money. We become a bigger part of this basketball family. And if she is the one that is going to drive this to new heights, let's embrace that. But if you want to prove to her that you are better, just be there on the basketball court.
For sure. And, we see even Paige, the way she has debuted, she's not going to take a backseat to Caitlin the way she's playing right now. That there will be other great stars that compete for Caitlin. But as far as popularity goes,
Caitlin Clark
she's Michael Jordan to women, young women.
Because when she came in at the right time. She took college basketball viewership on the female side to a whole new level.
Yep.
And like I heard you talk about earlier, you and I both believe this. The best female basketball player that we've ever seen is Cheryl Miller.
She's number one for me. We got to go back a ways. We're old. There's a lot more competition now. There's a lot more great players now. But Cheryl was better than her brother for a long time. I mean, she used to beat Reggie on the driveway.
Cynthia Cooper.
Yeah.
Lisa Leslie. And Cheryl Miller said if there's a player that could have been better than her, would have been Cynthia Cooper. Cynthia Cooper was that good.
Yeah.
But hey, if Caitlin Clark is going to bring in, new excitement, new viewership, the league is going to be looked at differently in a positive way. Hey man, let's just ride this wave for as long as we can.
Absolutely.
Because at some point in time, Caitlin Clark is going to leave basketball. And who's next? But right now, let's enjoy the moment. Let's seize the moment that we are in. And let's just go out and enjoy the time that we have as WNBA basketball players.
For a league that's relied on the NBA to fund them all these years, that's turning. That will not be the case down the road here, not too distant future.
Yeah.
TV deal is going to be
coming.
A couple years they can redo it, and I think it's going to change everything.
What they go to 60 games. All of a sudden now you make more money. And some of you and some of these, these women, they don't have to now go overseas to play basketball once the WNBA season is over. They can make a living playing basketball right now here in America. To me, that's a good thing.
It's a great thing, no question. Let's see the Lynx hoist a banner. Well, they won't hoist it tonight, but let's see them win the cup tonight, and let's see these ladies get paid $500,000 divvied up if they get the W.
It's a nice payday
over the Fever tonight. Well, absolutely.
You may not need it because you got deep pockets, but I could use some of that change.
Yeah. Pockets are very, very deep. Enjoy your fourth holiday.
Do the same, David.
Peace and quiet and solitude. Enjoy that. Yeah. I will do the same. I'm back here tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Won't be all basketball, but, it's kind of the bread
we'll talk Packers and Vikings at some point in time.
Yeah, we'll do some of that, too. Have a great night.
Do the same, Davey.
For Double T, Trent Tucker, for Kara doing a great job across the glass. Thank you, Kara. I am Dave Sinykin. Thanks so much for listening. Back at it tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Have a great night.
Ain't gonna change. One of these days, ain't gonna change. Your time.
Ugh. Spam calls. Sound familiar? Introducing Line 2. Get a second phone number right on your existing phone. Imagine discounts, appointments, online forms. Handle it all without giving out your personal number. It's like having a secret weapon against spam. And when those unwanted calls sneak through, boom, blocked. No more interruptions, no more stress. Stay connected, stay protected. Keep your main number safe and out of harm's way. Ready to take back your phone? Visit line2.com/audio or download Line 2 in the App Store today.